43 of Season 4 of The Paper Thing with me, the Broken Bottle Boy, here on Twitch. Today's episode is a magazine special. We're starting with a review of Viz Comic. Viewer-requested review of Viz Comic. Then we will be doing The Sun, The Times, and The Daily Mail in that order, with a speed run through The Sun and a normal trudge through The Times. And finally, a devastating look at the Uncle Disgustings and Aunt Appallings of the Daily Mail. But first off, as I mentioned, we will be looking at Viz. It is the August 2021 edition of Viz, number 307. And yeah, here we go. Good afternoon, Slinkermeyer. How are you doing? Very good to see you. Thank you for sharing the newsletter this morning. That was much appreciated. Could I have made that sound any less ingenuous? Yes, it was much appreciated. Thank you. Right. Oh god, I hate notifications. I have to get rid of notifications. Right, go away. Bye bye. I don't want it. There we go. Neither do I want this, whatever this is. Alright, cool. Good afternoon, everyone. Here we go with Viz. So, we're only going to go downhill today, starting with Viz, ending with the Daily Mail. Hello, SK. How are you doing? Did you have a good weekend? Hello to you, Mark Kenosis. Hope you are well. How was your weekend? Hello, Studying Fangirl. How goes the struggle? And good afternoon, of course, to Bad Motivator, or should I say, valued subscriber, Bad Motivator. So, SK had a nice little trip to London. Rendland Thought. Hello, Rendland Thought. Good to hear from you all the way over there in California. Early doors for you to be tuning in today. Hello, Friar Bentos. How's it going? Right, here we go with Viz. Front cover of Viz. Win 1 million trillion in bitcoins. Coins. Tough nut. Britain's hardest man spills the blood and beans on his life of aggro. I'm as hard as Roddy Knockers. Read his violent story on page 34. And the Fat Slags are on the front cover. We're also promised raffles, Sid the Sexist, Baxter Basics, Mrs. Brady, Real Ale, Biffa Bacon, Meddlesome Rat Bag, and exciting football and news cooking oil action in Tucker of BSG. Studying Fangirl, what is Viz? Viz is basically an adult comic. It's kind of weird. Thank you, Redolent Thought, for gifting a tier 1 sub to Auntie Dange. That is very nice of you. Studying Fangirl says Viz sounds sus. Viz is kind of like, it's needlessly grim in some areas, but it is pretty good. The letters are funny. It's funny in parts. Mark Kenosis, not adult as in porn, adult as in rude. Yeah, adult as in not for children. Okay, so inside, someone is trying to sell their collection of sci-fi writing on the inside cover. Yeah, it is a mixed bag. The first strip is Mrs. Brady's Old Ladies. It is... I couldn't really be bothered to see whether I thought it was funny. Biffa Bacon continues to be the Beano Dandy parody that it has always been. In this edition, Biffa is going to a fake bullfight where someone's dressed up as a bull. Yeah. Mark Kenosis sometimes has gigs in a pub that makes a big deal, having been one of the original places to sell Viz. Okay, cool. That is cool, I guess. Yes, I did take your suggestion, Redolent Thought, on the gifted ones. As well as gigs by pre-famed Sting. Bernard Sumner himself. Gordon Sumner? Bernard Sumner. Gordon Sumner. Bernard Sumner's from New Order. It's Monday. Right, I know it's not cool. Yeah, Gordon, yeah, it's not cool, Mark. I just said it's cool in a sort of, like, reflexive manner there. Next up, we've got the, needlessly, but blatantly, PC, baiting, strip, scum mothers do have them. An advert for a band that have named themselves after one of the entries in Viz's Profanosaurus, Fish Mittens. They've got one song on Spotify. It was fine. But now we get to the letters. David Slade of Stevenage writes, young people today just don't appreciate the 14th century crop rotation systems. They're all too busy on their Xboxes watching those podcast things and using modern agricultural methodology. Eldon First from Leeds says, well done Dyson for giving customers free postage on your hair products. You wouldn't want to take the piss by adding on a £3 postage after charging £400 for a pair of fucking hair tongs. Tenzing Norgay in Everest says, in reply to Thanston Crab, as any idiot knows, water only boils at 373 Kelvin at sea level, but whenever I pop the kettle on, it's done by 343.15 Kelvin, making 1000 degrees C about 3.71 times the temperature of boiling water. So Mr. Crab can piss right off. And Phil Kitching of the Isle of Jura says, why is there never a Sudoku puzzle in the Oban Times anymore? I used to enjoy the challenge and would like to know whether there are any plans to reintroduce it. Viz replies, we're not sure, Mr. Kitchen. You should probably better advise writing to the Oban Times, as it would be a decision for the newspaper's editor. Alternatively, if the editor would like to write to us and tell us if they have any plans to bring back the Sudoku puzzle section, we can let any Oban Times readers who also read Viz know one way or another. And Ben Nunn of Caterham says, how come my favourite sweets in a bag of Revels are the Maltesers, yet I never buy a bag of Maltesers, even though they're displayed right next to the Revels in the shop? I don't even understand myself at times. Why are you chuckling at?
Because Q.Dot sent me his buttplug.io stickers.
Oh, cool. There's a good fake ad for a phone line when you can call up to get swindled in various different ways. Dial 1 for a bank you don't have an account with to alert you for confirmation of your PIN number to accept a payment from Mr. Fuck You Over. 2, automated call from postal firm needing your credit card details to book delivery slot of a package that you didn't order. 3, IT help desk detected a PC virus on your iPad and advised you to download their anti-spyware software, which will troll your hard drive for passwords. 4, insurance company rings asking for your bank details as you've been awarded compensation for the car accident you can't remember having. And 5, automated voice says your Amazon Prime account will be renewed for £79 per month unless you press 1 to cancel and connect you to a £5.99 per minute premium rate line. Mrs. Edna Foolable of Penge says, I'm as gullible as they come and I used to lose money to scammers right, left and centre. But after using Compare the Swindle, I lost a lot to someone saying that I was due a tax rebate and saved myself hours. All our call handlers are professionally trained boiler room scammers with at least 5 years experience stealing life savings. Mr. Worthy of Wigan says, you know that shipwreck you see in the opening credits of Father Ted? Well, I've had a piss in it. Beat that. Markington Scales of Barnsley says, in all the nature programmes I've watched, I have never seen a lion having a shite. Come on, Attenborough, pull your finger out and film the king of the jungle laying a cable. And finally, Neil Renton, there's many more of these, but finally, Neil Renton of Edinburgh says, I've heard the song Baker Street hundreds of times, and yet I still have no idea what it's about. There's someone winding their way down Baker Street. There's a saxophone comes along and distracts the listener. Actually, here's one last one. Just for the person in the room. Stewie from Bonnie writes, the Rampant Rabbit sex toy is 30 years old this year, an anniversary deemed worthy of celebration by Radio 4. I am absolutely disgusted and have put my foot through the car radio, and I will be sending the bill for a complete new dashboard to the BBC.
Amazing.
The thing is, right, Viz, the letters pages of the real newspapers should just steal Viz letters. You'd never know the difference. Right, there's an ad for Elijah Churchill, the faith roof repairer. He repairs your roofs through the divine gift of faith alone. In Tucker of BSG, top Premiership football team, Barnchester United, secured a 3-0 victory over the Dutch outfit, Groningen FC, giving them a place in the European Cup final. They go to the pub. Basically, it's a very good parody of Roy of the Rovers that they've stuck with for a long time. I really like that the Week magazine advertises in Viz. Something about that. In Marks and Sparks, Knockabout Fun with the 19th century author of the Communist Manifesto and the pop group formed in 1967 by Ron and Russell Merle. This was my favourite strip in this issue. A guy called Jonathan Nichols has got a biography about being in a band, and it includes a foreword by Bradley Walsh. I think this is probably a real ad. Yeah. You can get 3 issues of Viz for £3 plus a limited edition mug. In Nobby's Piles, Nobby encounters a brass band. There's a story about Jason Donovan. Days Donovan in Alaska flashback fiasco. This year's prestigious Pride of Britain award ceremony was last night disrupted after host Jason Donovan experienced a flashback to a past life as a 19th century Alaskan fur trader. Marks and Sparks is really good because the execution is like Mark Canosa says, very well done. Saints Alive, Catholic Church fears Saint the Intercession service near breaking point. COVID pandemic with its knock-on effects on the economy and the nation's mental health could be causing problems for the patron saints of the Catholic Church. According to the religion's CEO, Pope Francis, since the pandemic struck, appeals to the saints for intercession have gone through the roof. Dueling banjos again, like a one-note idea executed perfectly. It is a strip about Ashley and Jordan Banjo from the group Diversity just arguing with each other. There's a whole double-page spread taking the piss out of crypto people, which is, good. Sid the Sexist is still in here, gets tons of space. Some of these I think they should drop. The latest cabinet reshuffle has been greeted with fury after former Radio 1 DJ Gary Davis was once again overlooked for a ministerial post. The popular record spinner, who regularly pulled in 2 million listeners to his 80s show The Bit in the Middle, had been tipped as a cabinet appointee by friends and supporters despite not being a member of parliament. Frankly, I don't know what the PM is thinking, said fellow pancake turner Steve Wright, a long-term friend and supporter of Davis. Factoid, Gary is a radio legend for the day-to-day challenge section of his show alone. When you take into account the weekend breakfast slot, Top of the Pops and everything else, I don't know what else he needs to do. Supporters of the former plate revolver thought he was likely to receive a lesser cabinet post in the reshuffle, with a view to being fast-tracked to the more senior post of Home Secretary next year. Viz there, predicting the future. A pitch-perfect parody of bullshit features in newspapers. In this double-page thread, 25 things you never knew about circles. Turn the mic up. Well, the thing is, Rendlent Thought, you say turn the mic up. There you go. And other people say it's too loud. So it's almost impossible to make anyone happy. Here you go. I have turned it up for you. Well, there you go. I have the too loud people are gits, says Rendlent Thought. Okay, well there you go. There's some more sound for you. The Real Ale Twats is excellent and only what those people deserve. In the parody of Take a Break, Take a Shit is about 9 Stone Terry Limpstick speaks to us about his relationship with the warrior creed of ultra violence. Just the pull quotes are brilliant in it. I held his gaze for a split second, then threw him off his guard by apologising for having got in his way. The gang were clearly unnerved as they were making a great show of chatting away and pretending not to see me. I had to slam the Micros anchors on, and I was so angry I almost sounded my horn. Another band, Aqua Velvas, promoting their album, The Anus Horribilis Years. Mobile Dick is fine. It's quite funny. Nash Gordon, a space waster of the future. And, again, a very good Beano parody. Right, pick a letter, and I will read you an entry from this edition of Roger's Profanathoris. Hello, Dr. Festi, how are you doing? We are currently looking at the most recent issue of Viz. Person in the room, pick a letter, and I will read you a Roger's Profanosaurus. B. Bomb threat, euphemism. A suspicious package which looks like the owner has stuffed socks, vegetables, sausages, etc. into his scads in order to make his explosive payload look bigger. For example, nice bomb threat there, Mr. Plant. There you go. Yu-Gi-Oh! Wants one from the letter D. Dirty Pinata, a plastic bag containing hound cable thoughtfully left dangling off a tree branch by a passing shit machine walker, also known as Bizbat. And Renolent Thought wants an S. Renolent Thought wants an S, and then I'll do Z for Slinker. Z. There is no Z this week, Slinker, so I'm going to give you a W. But, okay, here's the S. Switch from ketchup to HP. Of a full English breakfast connoisseur to make a gustatory decision to change at Oxford Circus when the Fairlop loop is out of service. I don't really like that S. That's not that great. Suez blocker. A large steamer capable of stopping all traffic between the Red Sea and the Mediterranean. 2. A large steamer capable of stopping all traffic between the U-Bend and the local sewage works. A W for Slingmeyer, well-appointed. Surveyor's appraisal of a frontage, especially with regard to good structural integrity, a generous balcony area, and prominent nips. And finally, for Dr. Festi, an M. Trying to find the M that I like. Oh, God. No, I'm not reading that one. That's too bad. Mortgaged. In Monopoly, when a valuable property is turned red and is therefore troublesome to land on for the foreseeable future. Or 2. Adjective. Out of bounds during Rag Week. Yes, this is Viz. It is incredible that it's still published, and yet... Mark Kenosis, I think Tristram Handstrandy is my fave Profanathoros entry for a long, convoluted wank. Yeah. The Fat Slags, still present in Viz in the year of our Lord 2021. In today's episode, one of them decides to become a dominatrix and forces her slave to go and buy her some pizzas. And another excellent news story at the bottom here. Grazed expectations. The government today announced plans to bring back loose gravel surfaces on playgrounds along with smooth, slippy soles on children's shoes in an attempt to put a halt to what ministers believe is a softening up of today's youth. Secretary of State for the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, George Eustace, introduced a private member's bill which would see coarse gravel replace the rubber crumb, which has been a feature of venture playgrounds since the early 80s. If passed, the new law would also compel shoe manufacturers to use extremely smooth plastic on the soles of all children's shoes in place of the heavy treaded rubber used today. Like every other boy in my class, I had almost permanent scabs on my knees throughout my childhood, the member for Camborne and Redruth told Parliament. I spent many hours picking bits of gravel out of my ripped flesh. It was character building and made me the man I am today. Former UKIP member said that losing one's footing while running and skidding along sharp gravel in short trousers was a rite of passage for all schoolboys. The gravel and slippery shoes bill would ensure this right would not be denied to our children, he said. The bill passed its first reading despite opposition from Labour, said it was a step in the wrong direction. Any child jumping from a swing or being thrown from a fast-moving roundabout has the right to land on a soft surface without their knees and palms being ripped to shreds, said Shadow Foreign Secretary Lisa Nandy. If anything, we should be moving towards even softer playground servicing, like bubble wrap. However, in the second chamber, the Lords added a series of amendments to the bill, including a requirement for all greys' knees to be swabbed with neat Dettol and covered with a plaster that is too small and comes off after getting in the bath. Mark Canosis says the fat slags are aspirational figures. Chronotherm, yeah, they are basically fin-doming of pizzas. Yeah, I wrote a thing about fin-doms and fake fin-doms for Mel magazine a while ago. Check that out if you wish. Backs to Basics MP. Really, when we've got Matt Hancock, is satire cannot compete. The Meddlesome Rat Bags are causing some problems in a cafe. Slayer are tending their vegetable patch in a very excellent very excellent double page spread, which ends with them finding out that the criminal is racist Morrissey, aka Morrissey. And finally, Raffles the Gentleman Thug goes to watch some nudie ladies dancing. And the final ads, there's an ad for Powerball, the most fun you can have with one hand. Ride longer, serve harder, drive further, climb higher, soothe tennis elbow, rehabilitate carpal tunnel, repair a broken hand. Whatever you do with your arms, hands, wrists and fingers, there's a Powerball model that will help you do it better. And on the back page, there's an ad for Five Finger Death Punch's latest album. So there you go. That is Viz. It's got to be an 8 or 9 out of 10. Does exactly what you want it to do, and it is funny. There is a lot of funny stuff in there. Let's see, how much was it? It's £3.90, but there's a lot to enjoy for that £3.90. Okay, so from the sublime to the fucking awful as we move. Give me your scores for Viz, by the way. From the sublime to the awful as we move to the sun. Tiny sun, tiny sun, tiny sun. Here we go. There we go. Okay. Slinkermeyer gives Viz a 6.9 out of 10. Stamplats Krakow in with a 6.9 out of 10. Mark Canosis gives it a 7 out of 10. SK the Crusader says his Findom friend makes something like 4k a month and she works her ass off. Yeah, it's surprisingly hard work. Well, not surprisingly, but it is hard work. Actually, I'm going to find the Mel piece I did about Findom because it turned out really well. And they were really cool people to talk to. It's 2 years ago I wrote that piece. Well, anyway. There we go. A 6.9 out of 10 from SK the Crusader and a 6 out of 10 from Dr. Festi, but I got here late. What's fake fin-doming? Basically, people who take the money or take the money and don't do any of the doming. So essentially, it's just fraud. Oh, Mark Canosis knows this piece. Didn't realise it was me. Oh, well, thank you. Well, yes, it was. It was me. Yeah, it's like 2 years ago. Okay, right. There are also catfish doms where people are being defrauded. Yeah, exactly. But in this case, it's people who weren't expecting that. And it was basically based on having seen a lot of actual Findoms on Twitter and stuff complaining about these fake fandoms. SK the Crusader also read this piece and didn't realise it was me. Well, there you go. Okay. We're going to do a speed run through the sun. How fast do you reckon I can get through the sun? 3 minutes. 3 minutes? Okay. Thanks. I'm glad you like the piece. Okay, so a 3-minute speed run through the sun. Of course, they're still on the Hancock tip and lots of Love Island stuff. Dr. Festi says, I have a handful of people who say they could see me being a Dom, but again, that's theory and not practice. Hey Google, play... Hey Google, set timer for 3 minutes. I've confused you now. Hey Google, set timer for 3 minutes.
Second timer for 3 minutes. And we're starting now.
Oh. Hey Google, cancel all timers.
All right, they're both cancelled.
Okay. Hey Google, set timer for 3 minutes.
All right, 3 minutes. Starting now.
Okay, front page of the Sun. At the top of the page, there's a very intrusive story about Ryland splitting. Ryland and his husband splitting. It's really just pretty grim. I reported in the way that you'd expect from the Sun. On the left-hand side of the page, it's Megan Barton Hanson saying, "Go wild and have sex on screen." With her explanation of how to win Love Island. By the way, she didn't win Love Island, although she was in the final of the year that she was on it. Matt Hancock is still on the front page. New Hancock Fury. Something else to tell us, Matt? Questions over G7 trip with Gina. Inside the paper, on page 3, that isn't page 3, but is page 3, it's Novak Djokovic's wife in a spotty bikini, spotty swimsuit, sorry, and the headline is Jock, wife is spot on. They're having a go at Elton John, a long-held sport for the Sun. They headline the fact that Sajid Javid is now health secretary with Jav a go hero, absolute propaganda. On page 7 is the Ryland story. On pages 8 and 9, the start of the tabloid sort of anti-Germany stuff. 1966 heroes backing for big clash with Germany. When believe legend Sir Jeff, England can do it. He says that every time. Most times they do not. Trevor Kavanagh says Hancock makes the PM a hypocrite. Was he not a hypocrite already, Trevor Kavanagh? Of course he was. On page 13, a needless attack on Harry and Meghan. Don't take our holy water, Meg. Home on Tribe's sacred spring is the claim. On pages 14 and 15, Megan Barton Hanson talking about how to win Love Island, but basically an excuse to show her in lingerie. On page 17, Ollie Murs, his girlfriend is a bodybuilder. On page 17 as well, bloodbath in flat, killer is shot dead by cops as child hurt. Exploitative coverage of a terrible case as usual. On page 19, terror of Pottercat, killer whales ambush yacht. Kim Kardashian wore a yellow coat. And an idiot allowed his son to rack up a nearly 1,300 bill on a mobile phone game and claims he had to sell his car because of it. Classic sad-looking people in a local newspaper face in that picture. A bar on the front of the goals thing, Qatar heroes after the Euro woe. Joe says Wales must be Qatar heroes. Joe Allen thinks Wales can do well in the World Cup, even though they didn't do well in the Euros. Anne Robinson is in the paper because she's starting on Countdown. In the TV, nothing that interesting. We missed out on NHS life-saving treatment, just like Kim's dad, says Fab Daily. Just kind of misery coverage there. In Deirdre's photo casebook today, it's Naomi's mixed up emotions. The £50 letter today is someone saying the Sun's exposure of a rule-breaking two-timing minister shows how fortunate we are to have an independent press. Definitely this was written by someone who works in the Sun office. They're trying to get you to get an electric boiler. And in the sport, he sure talks about me a lot, Luke Shaw. There we go. That is the Sun in 3 minutes. Mark Gnosis says, well, for a start, if that app was from the Apple Store or Play Store, they have refunded it. They refunded some of the money, but the guy had every opportunity to set up restrictions and didn't. Yeah, sorry, Slinker. Still, unsurprisingly, the Sun is still doing the anti-German shit. Rendland thought, can't wait for our spaceships to be voice activated by Google et al. Another ship crashes into a giant moon. The records show they had plenty of time to alter course. Dr. Festi, I'm glad it was 3 minutes because I don't think ILU would have been able to stand it any longer. Yeah, fair enough. Mark Kenosis, jumping from Findom to the Google timer is reminding me of a guy who modified an Alexa to be a Dom. You say, Alexa punishes, and she asks if you've been a bad boy. Then if you say yes, it electrocutes you. Amazing. Mark Kenosis rates the Sun minus 1.2k of app debt. Yeah, all right. Anyone else want to give your ratings for the Sun before we move on to the Times? Let's have a look at I'll just do the roll call first. See who we've got with us on this Monday. I am the Broken Bottle Boy, of course. You can follow me on Twitter at Broken Bottle Boy. In the mod squad today is SK the Crusader, currently on a streaming break, but I gather should have a new video for us soon. I read the script, it was good. In the chat also, Arid Trax is here, Ash Flaps McNulty's here, Bad Motivator's here, Commander Root, Dr. Festi, thanks for being with us for the first time. Yu-Gi-Oh, good to see you. Everybody loves Raymondo, always enjoy reading out that name. Ayal Berkovitz is here. Hello. Friar Bentos, Friendly Fiend, Chronotherm, Lady Baskers, Mark Kenosis, an absolute stalwart of the chat. Rendland Thoughts here from California. Hello, Rendland Thought. Really good to see you again back here. Slinkermeyer, good to see you. Shinzi Inferis. Well, Slinkermeyer, one of the veterans of the chat, of course. Shinzi Inferis is here, I think, for the first time. Stanplex Krakow, always good to see you popping in. Studying Fangirl, our stalwart friend in Israel. Torms, Theo, the other Kaz. Hello, the other Kaz. VNK, always nice to see you here. Virgo Pros, thanks for being here. Yuan, the Fishmeister General, is here. And finally, Zoe brings bacon, last but never least. Broken Bot Boy, 24-hour stream, reads all of Das Kapital. Do you know, the idea does appeal to me somehow. SK the Crusader says his new video is coming tomorrow. Excellent. I'm back in the streaming dojo on Thursday at 6:30 p.m. with the return of Big Jizya CK3 campaign. Cool. Dr. Festi asks, can we do minus scores for the papers? Absolutely, you can. Stanplatz Krakow gives the Sun 0.001 out of 10. I give it a minus 69, the classic negative nice. Okay, so we're going to move on to the Times, which, as we know, is just the Sun with a more expensive thesaurus. Mark Kenosis, reading Capital in 24 hours would be a feat, to be honest. Yeah, well, yeah, all 3 volumes, certainly. Dr. Vesti gives the Sun minus 10 out of 10. Okay, so here we go. The Times, front page of the Times. At the top of the page, it's Matt Chorley trying to pretend he's in on the joke by comparing himself to Alan Partridge. He has never been that funny, either intentionally or accidentally. The next story down, bullish Javid is confident COVID restrictions will end on July 19th, as if he is in any way involved in that decision. The main story is a vile one, where the Home Office has briefed into Matt Dathan, the Home Affairs editor, that it hopes to team up with Denmark to send migrants to Rwanda. It's disgusting, it's vile, it's a repeat of this offshoring story that we've heard time and time again. It's grim. Studying Fangirl says, SK will also be on my stream on Wednesday to talk about popes. I am up for that. Another story on the front page, secret files at bus stop reveal Crimean threat. This story stinks to high heaven. Files, a wet pile of secret files found at a bus stop and given to the BBC. It feels grim. It's just dodgy as hell. I think this is a way for them to put out their thinking on Crimea and what they were doing with the ship there. Without having to do it, but it's a deliberate leak framed as losing it. Markinosis Wikipedia has a list of sexually active popes. Sinkmeyer says she hates this cursed island. Me too. Chronotherm, has Matt Chorley compared anything to the Hitler Youth? That's truly the high point of the Partridgian. Yes, he has, actually. I have to look up the example, though. On page 3, Jack the Lad faces Djokovic in Wimbledon debut match. Jack Draper, his father, Roger Draper, was head of the Lawn Tennis Association. He's 19. Three Lions still top of the football pops. Three Lions remains by far and away England fans' favourite football anthem. World in Motion is a superior England football song, if ever there was one, and there are many better football songs generally. Serve up the centre court experience at home for £60. Anyone worried about missing out on the Wimbledon experience because of the pandemic? Fear not. Spectators can order a £60 hamper of strawberries and cream to their living rooms, or you could just put together a hamper yourself for less money than that if you are not a mug. Dumped MOD files reveal US fears over Afghanistan is the follow-up on that story on page 4. Chemical weapons expert has been banned by BA. Britain's foremost chemical weapons expert has revealed that British Airways once banned him from a flight for fear he was carrying sarin samples. Chronotherm, sorry, there's no way an MOD official with access to those files ever used public transport. Yeah, and a pile of them in just out behind a bus stop, wet. Like, those files are kept in cases if they're printed out at all, and there's no logical reason to have them printed out and taken home. Mark Kanosis, people wouldn't try and tell you someone's going to get their head kicked in tonight isn't a football song. Those people are cowards. Music teacher passes 9 exams in a day. A music teacher set a world record of taking and passing 9 exams on 9 different instruments, all on the same day. Estelle Jackson sat the exams on Friday at Queen's College in Taunton, Somerset, included grade 6 bassoon, grade 7 piano, and grade 8 soprano saxophone. In the process, she raised over £1,300 for the Sydney Lawton Trust, which helps students at Queen's develop their musical talent and the Stand Against Violence charity. Well, good on her. Pages 6 and 7, MI5 to hold talks with officials over CCTV leak of tryst footage. You can expect that the inquiry will find nothing because it would involve them having to tussle with the Sun, and the whistleblower in the Department of Health was extremely helpful to Boris Johnson. Mark Kanosis says, can you go back to the Viz Profanosaurus and see if grade 6 bassoon is in there? No. On page 9, exploring strange new worlds is a lonely business for Shatner. Life was lonely on the starship USS Enterprise, the actor William Shatner has disclosed. Shatner, 90, found famous, blah, 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 blah. He has reprised the role numerous times. His latest role is in Senior Moment as a retired NASA test pilot and self-proclaimed ladies' man who loses his driving license and meets a woman who changes his life. Oh, Jesus. Elsewhere on that page, Maxwell's links to Epstein go back to 1980's new film finds. A 3-part documentary being aired this month has found that Ghislaine Maxwell's association with Jeffrey Epstein began years earlier than previously understood. The documentary, to be screened on Sky, concentrates on Maxwell's career and her upbringing at the hands of newspaper tycoon Robert Maxwell. Maxwell, 59, is currently in prison in New York, facing charges as a co-conspirator conspirator in the sexual trafficking of young women and underage girls with Jeffrey Epstein, who died in his prison cell in 2019. Of a fragile hyaloid bone, a condition I wouldn't be surprised if Ghislaine Maxwell was suddenly found to be suffering from. Mayor of London backs Met Chief after corruption report. Well, he would, wouldn't he? Trees planted for Diamond Jubilee face axe under home building plan. Why? Public support Wolves return to Balmoral. I do. I support them not just being introduced to the grounds, but actually inside Balmoral. Make the Royals really work for their money. Careful how you're pronouncing Epstein. Yes. Jeffrey Epstein. Well, you know. Whatever. I know. Mark Kanosis, look, Ghislaine Maxwell is very troubled. I don't think we'll ever really know why she shot herself in the back of the head next week. Yeah. Death rate among those infected during third wave falls to 0.01%. Good. First volunteers given jabs for South African variant. There's a call to charge killer driver with murder. A coroner has called on French authorities to prosecute a prisoner for murder over the young British snowboarder he ran over. After the young British snowboarder he ran over died from his injuries 3 years later. Well, yeah. Snapshot of Old Master's mind surfaces after fire in 1720. A fire ripped through the workshop of André Charles Boulle, cabinet maker of Louis the 14th, destroying not only much of his own work, but also drawings by Raphael, wax models by Michelangelo, and a notebook by Peter Paul Rubens. Notebook by the Flemish artist would be considered a wonder if it had survived, as it would have contained Rubens' early thoughts, sketches, and drawings. Only 2 pages have been found, held in collections in Berlin and London. Now, however, the auction house Sotheby's announced that a 3rd page has surfaced. Bought in a small French town for the low thousands, the anonymous buyer had a hunch it may be an original Rubens. It's expected to fetch between 400,000 and 600,000. Greg Rubenstein, the Sotheby's head of Old Master's drawings, who authenticated the work, told The Guardian it's an extraordinary snapshot of what was going through his mind. The Royal Ballet's 90th birthday show gets 4 stars. A toxic aid chief has retired from the UN after inquiry. A senior United Nations aid official cleared of allegedly covering up refugee sex scandal has retired after refugee abuse scandal, Jesus Christ, has retired after a new investigation upheld misconduct and allegations against him, the Times has learned. Craig Sanders left his post with the UN High Commissioner for Refugees following internal inquiry into claims from whistleblowers that he created a toxic work environment. Penny Lancaster has told her she shared a special moment with the widow of Andrew Harper, a police constable who was dragged to his death. Why is she talking about that in public? On page 19, rich legacy for daughter of Czech MI6 agent who never came in from the cold. Britain's former spy master has opened up about his running of an important Czechoslovakian double agent during the Cold War and revealed the posthumous debt they paid on his behalf to his now very wealthy daughter. Sir Richard Dearlove diverged details of the recruitment, running, death, and eventual unmasking by the Czech authorities with intelligence officer Miroslav Kroka. In the 70s, Kroka supplied Britain with a stream of top secret information. Dearlove, 76, who was born in blah blah blah, became chief of Secret Intelligence Services in 1999 and said he was now able to speak about the secret operations because details had emerged publicly from the Czech archives of the STB, one of the KGB's key partners. Dearlove told the Chalk Valley History Festival in Wiltshire that Kroka was running Czechoslovakia's attempts to penetrate British intelligence when he walked in offering his services to Britain. Czech archives revealed Dearlove being under surveillance, but the former British spy master said every move was carefully planned to keep Kroka safe. The story has a slightly difficult ending, Dearlove said. The source had a heart condition, maybe not surprising as it was quite stressful, and eventually had a heart attack and ends up in hospital. While Kroka was in hospital, his Russian wife, knowing that her husband worked for the Czech intelligence but oblivious to his double agent status, then handed a bundle of clearly secret papers to the STB. Among them, they find a little piece of paper with what's called a developed image on it, and on that are his instructions to come to his next rendezvous with me. Dearlove said that en route to his planned rendezvous in the range of hills, he recognised the number plates of Czech surveillance cars parked in strategic places deep in the countryside. Kroka had then died of natural causes. But Dearlove said the Czech authorities then made life difficult for his daughter. She's had a terrible life. She didn't know what had happened to her father other than something catastrophic. He said she'd been discriminated against, chucked out of her job. She ends up in a very menial position. And then, long after Dearlove had been posted elsewhere, came the Velvet Revolution, and Václav Havel came to power in 1989. British intelligence agent was then sent over to see the Czech president with a request to find Kroka's daughter. The story has a wonderful ending, Dearlove told the festival. The spy's motivation was partly revenge on his colleagues, but he wanted his daughter to have a different life. He earned a lot of money that he'd never touched and went into a bank in London. Compound interest can make you very wealthy over a significant period of time. The daughter, who was not identified, is summoned to meet Havel, and he hands her a check, which is her father's money, many, many thousands of pounds. She is now a very, very wealthy Czech businessman, he added. Is that right? Dearlove is, as Mark Kenosis says, a massive wrong-un, and was... of course, Chief of Security Services in the run-up to and during the Iraq War. Family in shock as girl 11 is Britain's youngest mother. An 11-year-old girl has become Britain's youngest mother after giving birth this month, having become pregnant at age 10. Her family apparently unaware of the pregnancy when she went into labour at 30 weeks. It has come as a big shock, a source close to the family told The Sun. Yeah, I'm sure the Sun got them to talk to them in a very gentle and easy way. In the comment section, Paul Goodman, of the editor of Conservative Home, writes, why Johnson fought so hard to save Hancock. Because Johnson himself is a philandering fucker. Trevor Phillips says China's imperialists are winning over the world. Emma Duncan writes a tedious notebook. Libby Purvis writes a love letter to Jeremy Clarkson. Well, of course she would. He's also a Sunday Times columnist. Birthdays today. Elon Musk, not happy birthday to him. He's 50. Mustaq Ahmed, the cricketer for Pakistan till 2003, is 51. Willie Apiata, the first recipient of the Victoria Cross for New Zealand, is 49. Howard Barker, the poet, is 75. Corelli Barnett, the author of Hitler's Generals, is 94. Kathy Bates, the actress, is 73. Hans Blix, Swedish diplomat and former UN Chief Weapons Inspector in Iraq, is 93. Mel Brooks, director and actor of Blazing Saddles, is 95. Happy birthday to Mel Brooks. Ken Buchanan, boxer, former world lightweight champion, is 76. Lord Robert Carswell, Lord Chief Justice of Northern Ireland till 2004 and Lord of Appeal in Ordinary until 2009, is 87. John Cusack, the actor, is 55. Kevin De Bruyne, yes, the Belgian and Manchester City footballer, is 30. David Duckham, the rugby union player for England until 1976, is 75. Clarissa Eden, Countess of Avon, widow of Anthony Eden, first Earl of Avon, who was Prime Minister until 1957, is 101. Sir Thane Forbes, High Court judge until 2009, who presided over the trial of the serial killer Harold Shipman, is 83. Francis Hare, Earl of Listowel, is 57. Simon Hoare, the Conservative MP for North Dorset, is 52. Liz Jolly, the Chief Librarian at the British Librarian, is 56. Louise Kennedy, the fashion designer, is 61. David Johnson, Governor General of Canada, is 80. Louise Mensch is 50. Deborah Moggach, the novelist, journalist and scriptwriter, is 73. Baroness Sally Morgan of Houghton, chairwoman of Ofsted until 2014, is 62. Dame Frances Saunders, Chief Executive, Defence Science and Technology Laboratory, Ministry of Defence until 2012, is 67. Jenny Walden, Director of the Art Fund charity, 61. Layla Ward, the actress, Doctor Who, is 70. Adam Woodyatt, the actor from EastEnders until January 2021, from the very start of the show, is 53. On this day in 1910, the Westminster Cathedral, the mother church of the Catholic Church in England and Wales, was consecrated. And the last word in this column today goes to Benjamin Disraeli from his book, The Wondrous Tale of Alroy. I am prepared for the worst, but hope for the best. Louise Mensch is just 50. Feels like she's been around forever. I know. It's terrifying, isn't it? Yes, happy birthday also to Kathy Bates. Mark Kenosis, no idea what Lord of Appeal in Ordinary means, but I bet it involves a child skeleton. Mark Kenosis, never change. Page 28 and 29, Trump takes fake claim on the road in hint of 2024 run. Putin spy met Salvini aide to set up slush fund for far-right league. Never. Mother of 7 added to her family at medical school. Is a story from New York. Dear Monster, pen pal couple winkled secrets of serial killers. Barbara and Richie Dickstein had a personal interest in mass murderers. For more than a decade, a married New York couple followed their hobby, winning the confidence of some of the most infamous men in America. Barbara and Richie Dickstein wrote enamored letters to serial killers, winkling out secrets that might have eluded legions of police detectives and criminal psychologists. From 1992 to 2005, the couple built up an archive of 30,000 letters from mass murderers, including Richard Ramirez, John Wayne Gacy, Jeffrey Dahmer, and David Berkowitz. The son of Sam. Elizabeth Rome, the actress who presents the Killer's Vault podcast, said that the couple's motivation was deeply personal. It originated from Barbara's family member having a near miss with Berkowitz, she said, referring to the son of Sam Killer, who shot dead 6 people and wounded 7, terrorizing New York between 76 and 77. Rome said they had created intimate relationships based on what the killers wanted. Richie pretended to be a gay bodybuilder in letters to Dahmer, who was convicted of killing 15 men and boys. Killer wrote back requesting a photograph showing showing every unclothed, muscular inch of you, Barbara, 60, sent Ramirez photographs of a New York stripper pretending that it was her. Ramirez, convicted in 1989 of 13 murder charges, wrote to both of them. He told Richie that he had found a way to get beneath the pavement at a Los Angeles traffic light to take photographs of the dresses of women In 1994, he wrote of his delight in the gory details of the recent plane crash and of his interest in Hillary Clinton, the First Lady at the time. He wrote, "Her calves and ankles are definitely healthy." Well, what more healthy hobby could you have than writing racy letters to serial killers to get them to talk to you? So, Gamaya, this story is fascinating. Uncritical support for catfishing serial killers. Yeah, it is really. Rob Sear, a former police officer who is a producer on the podcast, said that he learned of the letters a year ago after Richie died in 2018. A friend of Barbara had the letters archived at her house. I was there 3 hours. Every serial killer, pretty much from the 1960s through till they stopped writing in 2006, was friends with them. Sear said that the podcast featured criminologists and sociologists analysing the letters, but left out details of the victims. He hoped that some of the letters might be helpful to cold case detectives seeking the remains of victims. Sear said that serial killers responded to the affection lavished on them by the Dicksteins. They really opened up to this husband and wife. They got into their childhoods, how they became these monsters. Berkovitz's lawyer told Barbara that his client cried when Richie died. Barbara was apparently distraught when Carla Faye Tucker, who killed 2 people with a pickaxe, was executed in 1998. She told the New York Post, "Richie was like, 'Why are you crying?' I said, 'I feel the same way about her as you do about Berkovitz. We just clicked. We both loved cats.'" That's what I'd call the podcast if I was making it. We both love cats. Fishermen are protesting against the elites in the Hamptons in the US. On the front page of the Times 2, of course, is Matt Chorley pretending to be Alan Partridge as if a modicum of self-awareness makes up for who he actually is. I'm not going to go through that. I'm not actually going to go through the Times 2 today, but rest assured it's what you expect it to be. In the business news, Watchdog bans crypto exchange. Binance has been banned from operating in the UK. Showtime spending on new content by TV and film companies rose by 16.4% last year to $220 billion, despite halts in production due to COVID. Purely Capital said Walt Disney, which made Cruella, was the biggest spender, spending $28.6 billion on content last year. Mark Littlewood writes, "Class war may largely be behind us, but the generation wars are just beginning." I don't think you stop. Tony Blair tried to claim that class war was over, and these fuckers are doing it now, and it doesn't wash with me. Callum Jones looks at the emergence of Substack, a fast-rising subscription startup from Silicon Valley. Substack, never heard of it. BrokenBottleBoy.substack.com. Get involved. Chuck out bottles and cans. Just add some water and raise a glass to the greener good. Sales numbers support optimism of business. Reinventing homebrew. Oh, God. Some fucking hipster bullshit. Stop trying to hipsterize everything. In the obituaries, Alistair Houston, cattle breeder who built on Gretna Green's reputation for runaway couples by building a thriving modern wedding industry there, has died. He was just 59. Peter Zinoviev, the electronic music composer and synthesizer pioneer who engineered sounds for Pink Floyd, David Bowie, and Kraftwerk, has died. He was 88. He was known as the Mad Professor, and he enjoyed talking to his computers. He invented the VCS3 synthesizer in the 60s, about the same time that Robert Moog was developing, or Moog, depending on which way you want to say it, was developing similar technology in America. His machines were used on Dark Side of the Moon and by The Who on Won't Get Fooled Again. Others who championed his invention included David Bowie, Brian Eno, Jean-Michel Jarre, King Crimson, and Kraftwerk, as well as the contemporary classical composers Harrison Birtwistle and Hans Werner Henze. Zinoviev gave personal instruction to those using his synthesizers, including Paul McCartney, whose interest was alerted when he attended a concert of electronic music given by Zinoviev under the name Unit Delta Plus, a grouping that also included Delia Derbyshire and Brian Hodgson from the BBC Radiophonic Workshop. Mark Kenosis, I specifically read more of that obit out for you. It's a really good obit, and he was a fascinating person. And the last obit of the day in the Times today, Jackie Lane, elfin actress who appeared in the third series of Doctor Who after stumbling into the TARDIS on Wimbledon Common. She died after short illness, age 79. She did a lot of other stuff apart from Doctor Who. Obviously, she retired in 2000, but remained busy reading with children at a local primary school in Maida Vale, West London, and learning sign language. Fiercely independent and a long-standing francophile, she loved to travel and continued to dabble in antiques. Her family remember a tiny but passionate, private and determined woman who was great fun and caring with a zest for life. She sounds nice. They're trying to sell you a high-power monocular telescope, presumably for spying on your neighbours, rear window style. An online service for buying pet drugs. In the sport, why Benitez wants to take impossible job. The temptation to think that Rafa Benitez needs another miracle. With the Spaniard's appointment as Everton manager imminent, the task confronting him feels particularly onerous. West Brom sporting director bids to bypass rules on transfer is the investigation around Luke Dowling. There's a report on Harlequins beating Exeter Chiefs. David Walsh says emotions ride high as Dutch cyclist seizes his moment. And the police are searching for a fan who caused a mass crash during the latest stage of the Tour de France. Gatland is gambling, but he sees leader in Murray as their coverage of the rugby. Hamilton has no answer to Verstappen's mastery, says Rebecca Clancy, reporting on the motor racing. And on the back page, WBA director bid to broker illicit transfer. Senior executive at West Bromwich Albion attempted to negotiate a £25 million transfer deal that would have broken FIFA regulations, avoided tax in China and possibly the UK, and enabled the English club's Chinese majority owner, shareholder and owner to keep some of the proceeds of the sale. Luke Dowling, who was until 2 weeks ago West Brom's technical and sporting director, initiated discussions with an agent acting for the manager of a club in China about the possible sale of the Brazilian attacking midfielder Mateus Pereira. Monocular telescope, says Yuan. Yuan, you're right as well. Generation War is class-based in many ways. Slinkermeyer, totally agree. Class war is not over. Mark Canoe says class war is absolutely not behind us. See you in the trenches. Yep. Right, give me your scores for the Times. No really great animal ones in there. Zinoviev, Obit was decent, so I'll give them a minus 68. 1 point added. From their normal minus 69 rating. What time's your meeting, love? Okay. And finally, we come to the Daily Mail, which we're going to rocket through. Front page of the Daily Mail, of course, Shane Hancock did affair with AIDS start a year ago. I don't know, probably, maybe, who cares? Can we not focus on the corruption more? Main story, lost children of lockdown. A think tank has claimed that 100,000 pupils have failed to return to education full-time when schools reopened. There's a lot of complex issues there, but I suspect the think tank is full of shit. On page 5, the Tory, his aide, and 12 months of rumour. On page 4, left at bus stop, bundle of MOD secret Crimea files. Page 6 and 7, Cabinet turned backs on him. Bell Mooney says, no more jokes. This remains a cruel betrayal. Yeah, Dr. Fessy, I agree. There are many. He should have been fired long before. But of course, Boris Johnson can't fire anyone because he has no moral standing himself. On page 9, Stephen Glover, the most zombie-looking man in British press, says Boris should have sacked him, but he has a habit of letting pals off the hook. They say that there's going to be an investigation into how the video came out. Nothing will be found. On pages 10 and 11, Javid's July 19th Freedom Booster, and they make a big deal of having a picture of him with Carrie Johnson and Zach Goldsmith, who are big pals of his. On page 13, as Cinderella the musical finally opens in the West End, yes, we did go to the ball. Jane Fryer likes that. What a surprise. They've got a nice little cosy friendship with Lord Lloyd Webber. On page 14, more stuff on the potential release of Colin Pitchfork. He's not going to get released. On page 15, it's been home to actor John Mills and rocker Ronnie Wood. Now, as guitar ace Pete Townsend sells his £15 million pad, the question, Who's next? Not a bad headline there. Dame Joan Collins writes, "My hell at the hands of the COVID Stasi." Fuck off. Dominic Lawson is awful as ever. The Daily Mail runs the same interview that the Mail on Sunday ran yesterday with the woman who was attacked by the crocodile, which the Mail on Sunday claimed was an exclusive, despite the fact that the Sun was also claiming it as a world exclusive. On page 21, Madonna and Sharon Stone have worn fairly skimpy outfits, and the headline is "Six Appeal." At 62 and 63, Madonna and Sharon still dazzle. That'll be the Daily Mail hoping that they can persuade Madonna to actually do an interview with them again. On page 20, License to Spill, ex-MI6 boss tells tale of Cold War double agent. More propaganda for Richard Dearlove. Gun cops shoot man dead after bodies found in flats is the way the Mail covers that one. Game set, an Insta match. It's an excuse to show pictures of various female tennis players wearing bikinis. On page 25, Mateless back in BBC Bad Books over anti-Tory Twitter jibe. She retweeted a Piers Morgan tweet, but then deleted that retweet about 10 minutes after. But, you know, she's quite pally with Piers Morgan. On page 27, how the Tiger Mum's Cubs came to her rescue. Amy Chua, who had a big success writing the book, the Tiger Mum book, is back again. Infamous for writing a book detailing her ruthless parenting methods, everyone expected Amy Chua's daughters to grow up hating her. So why is it that 10 years on, her girls are her biggest supporters as she fights for her professional life? What's she done wrong?
Husband's got a sexual harassment case against him.
Oh, right. Okay. Grim. On page 29, Charlize, the black and white movie star. Literally just a story about her wearing a black skirt and a white shirt. On this day, June 28th, 2021, from the Daily Mail archive, June 28th, 1972. Actress Joan Collins and her husband, musical producer Ron Cass, yesterday introduced their week-old daughter. Boring. June 28th, 2007. 10 years ago, they stood on the steps of 10 Downing Street. A decade later, the Blair family bade farewell as they walked out for the last time. Yeah, but they didn't fuck off, did they? Happy birthday to Clarissa Eden, who's 101, widow of Anthony Eden, and no happy birthday to Elon Musk, who is 50. Born on this day, Sir Harold Evans, actually one of the greats of British journalism. He died in 2020. He was involved in finally getting justice for the victims of thalidomide in a story that was real, telling truth to power. But of course, he was editor of the Times before Rupert Murdoch took over. Gilda Radner was born on this day in 1946. She was the Emmy award-winning American comedian and actress who was an original cast member of the US show Saturday Night Live. She was married to Gene Wilder. On June 28th in 1838, the 19-year-old Queen Victoria was crowned at Westminster Abbey, and on this day in 1986, Wham achieved their final #1 before disbanding with the song The Edge of Heaven. Quote of the day comes from Webb Du Bois, the American sociologist. "The cost of liberty is less than the price of repression." And the joke of the day: what do you call a dinosaur that crashes his car? Tyrannosaurus Rex. Okay, in the Inspire section, Claire Balding talks about when she was suspended from school from shoplifting and talks about how you can reinvent yourself. On the front of their Euros verdict thing, Dutch sunk by holes, Czech Republic shock Holland and set up Denmark tie. Apparently, peach is an in-fashion colour. Dr. Max is awful. We are not a pro Dr. Max stream. On page 45, can a NASA geek really find you the one? I don't know, probably. I've already found my one, thanks very much. Pick of the day, Susan Calman's Grand Week by the Sea, more cheap travel shows. Film of the day, Red 2, 9 p.m. on 5-star. I enjoyed the first Red. Retired Extremely Dangerous, but I've not seen the second one. Christopher Stevens gives The Handmaid's Tale's Return 4 stars, and Kate, Our Queen in Waiting, a bad documentary, 1 star. In the cartoons, Garfield walks past a plate of donuts and then still discovers he's put on 2 pounds. Chloe and Co are drinking and talking about men, and Fred Bassett is just living his life, really. Mark Kenosis, is the NASA geek going to help me fuck the moon? I think if you ask nicely. Right, the straight to the point letters today. G. Pinnock appears often in this space. Want our children to have an uninterrupted education? Get all pupils jabbed up during the summer holiday. I guess they'd never thought of that, G. Keir Starmer is written about by Brian Dean, who says, Keir Starmer must be terrified that after John Bercow, Dominic Cummings will join the Labour Party. M. Smith writes, from Napoleon's nation of shopkeepers to a country ruled by professors. Would that be so bad? Tim Mickleburgh says, of course we shouldn't treat A&E like a drop-in centre, but when it's nigh on impossible to see your GP, what are we supposed to do? V. Hefter, who writes often, has sent 3 words into the Daily Mail today. Silly Billie Eilish. Why, but just talk to your friend. Find a friend. I know your family doesn't talk to you anymore. Stop writing into the Daily Mail. H. Penny says, can ITV sink any lower? The decision to air the Oprah interview, reducing racing coverage, and now the return of Love Island. You don't have to watch it. And finally, Roland Griffiths writes, why do men of a certain age, especially those on TV, think it's fashionable to have a grey beard or stubble? It just looks scruffy and gives the impression they are too lazy to shave. Football pundit Roy Keane looks 20 years younger now he's shaved off his grey whiskers. Come on, ladies, tell your men, I don't want to be with my granddad. I want a young man instead. Jesus Christ. And Joy Mather says, we can follow sport perfectly well without droning pundits who love the sound of their own voices. Wimbledon, take note. Jesus Christ. V. Hefter desperately needs to speak to another human being. Absolutely agrees, Lincoln Dr. Fessy, I mean, part of the problem could be that we're not ruled by professors. Really, surely a qualified doctor should be health secretary, for example. Although no guarantee they'd still be a Tory and specifically selected and bad. Yeah, I mean, we had that with Andrew Lansley, who is a doctor and was pushed through absolutely appalling reforms of the NHS. Today's recipe is apple and penne slaw with walnuts. I mean, it's hardly a recipe. Primark has done well since the unlock. Lewis demands better car after Max leaves him trailing in title races, the F1 coverage. Keely Hodgkinson has done well in the 800 metres athletics in Manchester. And on the back page, England keeper Pickford in the frame to take shootout penalty against Germany. That is the Daily Mail for today. For me, it's a minus double negative nice. It's a double negative nice, sorry. A minus 69.69. Thank you for joining me today, whether you are new or whether you tune in regularly. The show is on every weekday at 1 p.m. usually. If you have enjoyed the show and you want more media coverage, try my newsletter, brokenbottleboy.substack.com. You can subscribe for free, and then if you like it, upgrade to a paid subscription. Also, if you want to be involved, if you want to pick what the next magazine special is on, like today's Viz one, just drop some coins, ideally the price of whatever magazine you want me to cover, into the newspaper fund, which I've dropped the link for there, paypal.me/conquest of the useless. And finally, if you have enjoyed this and like talking to the people in the chat, many of whom are in the Discord, you too can join the Discord. Here is the link for that. Boom. Cool. I will see you all tomorrow at 1 p.m. or all, but those of you who can make it, and have a good one. Enjoy your swans and duck feeding, Mark, and I hope one day you get to fuck the moon as you so desperately desire. Yeah, thanks all. See you soon. Make sure to check out Studying Fangirls stream on the Popes with SK, which I believe is Wednesday, and to watch SK's stream on Thursday. But of course, I have more opportunities to plug those tomorrow when the show starts at 1 p.m. In the meantime, get me on Twitter or Discord. Cheers all. Have a great afternoon.